The blackness of space was quiet, cold, and endless. But on the edge of the Zerian sector, something had changed. Admiral Kale of the Varnock fleet stood on the bridge of his command cruiser. His skin was pale green, his 4 eyes focused on the screen in front of him. The warning lights were blinking. Something was coming. Report, Kale ordered. The sensor officer turned, his voice unsure. An unidentified vessel has entered Sector 9. Origin, unknown. No response to hails. Kale frowned. How big? Small. No more than 300 meters. Alone. No escort, no weapons detected. That didn't make sense. No ship ever traveled alone into Varnock space. It was either a mistake or a trap. Visual, Kale said. The screen flickered. A dark silver ship appeared. Its shape was strange sharp edges. No visible engines, no windows, just smooth black metal, like it was grown, not built. Silence fell on the bridge. Is it human? Kale asked. No. Human vessel matches this design. But the core signature, it's Terran. That word echoed through the chamber. Terran human. Humans were not part of the Galactic Union. They stayed away. They had their own corner of the galaxy and rarely ventured out. Most races believed they were primitive, wild, dangerous. Kale had read the reports. The war with humans 100 years ago ended quickly, but no one knew why. The humans stopped fighting and disappeared. For a century, they were silent. Until now. This can't be just a ship, Kale whispered. This is a message. Across the fleet, 20 alien ships formed a blockade. The strange, human vessel floated silently, not moving, not reacting. Captain Drex of the Silverin cruiser Moon's Edge narrowed his yellow eyes. His species were masters of technology. He believed in control, logic, and precision. Scan it, he ordered. His science officer nodded. A deep humming sound filled the bridge as the scanner activated. Then the humming stopped. The screen went dark. What happened? Drex asked. Sir, the scan bounced back. The ship, It scanned us first. Drex turned pale. Oh, it read us before we could finish scanning it. Every ship in the fleet, all systems, all crew members, even our memories. Drex stood in silence. The entire bridge was frozen. One scan and their secrets were known. Suddenly, the fleet's main communication channel activated. A single voice echoed through every ship. We see you, do not resist. It was calm, cold, and human. Marl Kale watched in disbelief. The human vessel hadn't moved, no weapons fired, no shields activated, but it was already inside their systems. That one scan, just one, was more powerful than any weapon. Kale clenched his fists. How did they do this? No one answered. Then something stranger happened. The human vessel opened. A doorway appeared without sound, without motion, like the metal simply folded into itself. From the shadows, a figure stepped out, humanoid, wearing a suit blacker than space itself, no face, no name. It floated forward, walking across nothing. No ship connected, no path existed. Yet it walked toward Kale's cruiser. Panic broke out. Should we fire? An officer screamed. Kale shook his head. No, we need to understand. That figure stopped just outside Kale's ship. Every screen blinked once, then the figure was there, standing in the center of the bridge. No sound, no warning, just presence. Kale stood frozen. He had faced monsters, pirates, and rogue is, but this, this was different. This was something beyond. The figure finally spoke. You asked what this ship is. I will show you. It raised its hand. Suddenly, Kale saw images in his mind. A city made of stars. Machines that bent gravity. Beings who spoke in light. He saw humans not as they were, but as they had become. Not extinct. Not hiding. Evolved. The war 100 years ago wasn't surrender. It was preparation. Humans had left their bodies behind. They had become something else. Kale fell to his knees. His mind couldn't hold the images. Around him, his crew wept, screamed, or stared blankly. The figure lowered its hand. The vision stopped. You scanned our ship, the figure said. Now you know what we are. Kale whispered. What do you want? Nothing, the figure replied. This is not an invasion. This is not a war. This is a warning. Warning, Kale asked. Others are coming. Creatures from the dark between galaxies. We came not to fight you but to prepare you. Kale's breath caught. You want to help us? But figure did not answer directly. You are not ready. But some of you will listen. Those who listen will survive. And with that, the figure vanished. The human vessel closed its doorway. Then, slowly, it turned and left. No engines, no sound. It simply vanished into the blackness. Across the fleet, silence remained. Ships that had been full of confidence now floated quietly, Crew sat in fear, in awe. Kale stood slowly. He looked at his officers. "One scan," he said softly, "and we knew." He turned to the stars. We were outmatched. The stars were still. Admiral Kale stood on the bridge of his command ship, eyes fixed on the empty space where the human vessel had disappeared. No warp signature, no trail. It was simply gone. "Status report," he ordered. His crew was still. Shaken, some stared at their screens. Others whispered prayers in forgotten languages. Kale's voice cut through their fear. "We are still a fleet. We still have orders. Now report." Slowly, the officers returned to their posts. Energy levels normal. Life support stable. No trace of the human ship. Kale turned to the communication officer. "Any signals?" The officer hesitated. "Yes, sir, but not from the humans." Kale raised an eyebrow. "Then from who?" The officer looked up, pale. "We don't know, but it's coming from beyond the edge of the galaxy." Kale leaned forward. "Play it." A sound filled the ship. Not words, not music. Just whispering. Hundreds of voices. Maybe thousands. All speaking at once. All speaking nothing. The crew covered their ears. A few fell to their knees. Kale felt a pressure in his mind, like cold fingers wrapping around his skull. Then it stopped, and space was silent again. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, in a dark observatory, orbiting a dead moon, a creature stirred. It had many names. The Ancient, the Listener. The one between it was not part of any species. It was older than stars. Born in the black between galaxies. And now, it had noticed a scan. It had felt the human ship's signal echo across dimensions. It was awake, and it was hungry. Back on Kale's ship, something was wrong. The lights flickered. Screens glitched. "Sir," an officer shouted, "one of our cruisers just ... vanished." Kale turned sharply. "Vanished how?" "No explosion. No signal. 1 second it was there, next it's gone. Not cloaked. Gone." Then another voice cried, "Second ship missing, now a third." Kale rushed to the main screen. Icons representing ships were blinking out, one by one, but the space around them was empty. "Enemies detected," the sensor officer said. "Then where are they going?" Kale demanded. "On the ship Voxon 7, Captain Nara tried to contact the rest of the fleet." "Mayday, mayday, we are being pulled by unknown force." Hull pressure rising. Static. Her screen filled with a strange image. Not a face, not a machine, just a black shape. Like a spider made of shadows. It crawled toward her. She screamed. Then her ship vanished. Kale's fleet was down to half. The Admiral activated emergency command. "All ships, retreat. Set course for high orbit command." Now engines roared. The fleet began to move, but the stars around them moved to "Sir, ... The stars are shifting," said an officer. "That's impossible." The stars were indeed moving. Or perhaps not stars. Something behind them. Kale zoomed in. What looked like stars were eyes. Dozens, hundreds, watching, then blinking and moving closer. On a nearby outpost, a lone scientist named Rylan watched his sensor screen. He had tracked energy signatures for years, but this one made his hands tremble. The signature from the human ship was still echoing, but it was now being followed by something else. Rylan recorded a message: "To whoever finds this, the humans did not return to conquer. They returned to warn us, but it may already be too late. Something ancient is coming, and it does not care who you are, only that you exist." Back in space, the fleet was trying to escape. The Admiral watched as one of the shadow creatures wrapped itself around a cruiser. It didn't attack with weapons, it simply consumed. The ship folded inwards like paper, sucked into nothing. No firepower affects them. Someone yelled. Kale gritted his teeth. "Then we don't fight, we run." But one ship didn't move. Kale's old friend, Commander Talon, was still in place. "Kale," Talon said, "through comes. I'll hold them off." "You can't win," Kale replied. "I know, but I'll buy you time." Talon's ship turned toward the shadows and fired everything it had: lasers, plasma, nukes. The shadows paused for a second, then they struck. His ship vanished in a blink. Kale closed his eyes. "Get us out of here," he whispered. The fleet jumped to warp. Silence. Returned, but not peace. In deep space, the shadows circled the area where the human ship had appeared. They were searching, but not for the fleet. They were looking for it. The vessel, the one that scanned them first. Because even the shadows feared what lay inside the human ship. Even they did not understand it, and that made it dangerous. Meanwhile, far across the stars, the human vessel hovered above a small, forgotten moon. Inside, the figure in black stood quietly. Another human approached, her body glowing faintly, eyes full of light. "It has begun." she said. But the figure nodded. They followed our scan. Will the others survive? Some will, most won't. She looked sad. We waited 100 years. Is this truly the only way? The figure didn't answer. Instead, he opened a screen of pure light. It showed the galaxy. Tiny points of blue civilizations. Then red points, corrupted zones. And now, black spots growing. He touched one of them. A warning appeared. Shadows. Incoming. Hostile. No known weakness. The female human whispered. They have learned nothing since the last cycle. No, the figure agreed, but perhaps this time they will listen. He turned to her. Prepare the second vessel. We're going deeper. The Varnock fleet was broken. Admiral Kale sat in silence aboard his ship, the Wrath of Stars. Around him, the remains of the fleet floated, damaged, scared, scattered. Out of 20 ships, only 5 had made it out of the shadow zone. His people whispered of ghosts, of dark gods, but Kale had no time for stories. He was watching the signal. It had appeared just hours after their escape, not from the human vessel, not from the shadow creatures, but from something deeper, something older. The signal repeated once every 60 seconds. A simple tone, a pattern of 5 pulses, followed by silence, but its frequency was impossible, too low to be natural, and too strong to be from any known transmitter. Where is it coming from? Kale asked. The science officer replied, Unknown, sir. The signal doesn't travel through space, it travels through time. Kale narrowed his eyes. Time, yes, Admiral. The source is not in our present. It's broadcasting from before, billions of years before, and yet we're receiving it now. Kale stood. Then whoever sent it was waiting for us. On the edge of the Vela Nebula, the small research vessel Stellar Reach had also picked up the signal. Onboard scientist Mara Lin was listening to the pulse on loop. 5 beats, silence. Then again, she enhanced the signal, slowed it down, then she heard it. A whisper buried deep inside the tone, not a language, a feeling. Sorrow, loneliness, fear. She turned to her assistant. This isn't just a signal, it's a warning. Her assistant frowned. From who? I don't think it matters. Who? Mara said quietly. What matters is they were trying to stop something. Back on Kale's ship, the signal changed. New pulses, symbols. The computer tried to decode it but failed. Then the screen flashed a strange symbol, a circle within a triangle, with a line striking through both. Kale stared at it. That's the same symbol the humans showed me in the vision. The crew began to whisper. Was this message from the humans, or from whoever taught them? Kale activated the long-range comm. Open a channel, or races, or fleets. Anyone who's listening. The officer hesitated. Admiral, that could attract the shadows again. Kale nodded. They already know we're here. Aboard a secret station hidden in the Halo Rift, the message reached the Tarkar Dominion. The Tarkars were not known for fear. They had ruled their region of space for centuries. But when their Grand Warlord saw the decoded signal, he trembled. He called his advisors and pointed to the symbol on the screen. This mark, my ancestors knew it. It was found carved into the bones of the Old Ones. Old Ones? Asked one of his soldiers. Yes, the Warlord said. The first beings who tried to map the universe. They died screaming, saying the sky had eyes. He paused. Now those eyes are opening again. Mara Lin continued decoding the deeper layers of the signal. It spoke not in words, but through physics, sending models of universal decay, collapse, entropy, and something worse. A phase event. A moment in the future when reality itself would fracture. It's not just shadows, she whispered. Something is breaking the rules of space and time. Her assistant looked over the models. Then how do we stop it? Mara didn't speak, because the answer was clear. We don't. In a hidden chamber inside the human vessel. The figure in black watched multiple timelines unfold. Screens showed alternate versions of the same moment, some where the shadows consumed entire galaxies, others where the humans fought and lost, others where the humans never returned at all. But in one, the signal worked. The signal changed minds. That was the path they needed. The female human from Part 2 stepped into the chamber. They've received the message, she said. The figure nodded. But so have the shadows. Deep in the void, the shadow creatures paused. Something else had answered the signal. Something even they had forgotten. A greater duck, silent, massive, awake. It moved through space without form, without name. The younger shadows turned and fled, because this was not their master. This was what their master feared. On Kale's ship, a new reading appeared. A gravitational anomaly 10,000 times stronger than a black hole. But no matter, no light, no center. Just a presence. Kale felt it before the computers did. His heart slowed, his thoughts turned heavy, like something ancient was staring through him. Then he heard it, not through his ears, through his mind. The humans woke something they did not understand. Kale fell to his knees. Others collapsed. The signal stopped, and in its place only one word remained. Remember. In a secret archive on the icy world of Krinex, an old machine powered on for the first time in 10,000 years. It displayed the same symbol, the triangle and circle, and began printing an ancient message. If you are reading this, you've seen the scan. If you've seen the scan, you've been marked. The true war is not with ships or weapons. It is with reality itself, and the humans are only the beginning. The Vernax spear drifted out of fold space before the crew. A planet appeared, cold, silent, gray. No records. No name. Not even coordinates in the database. It wasn't hidden, it was removed, as if history itself had turned its back on it. And yet, the vessel had led them here. Commander Rilla stared through the ship's window. It doesn't look dangerous. Dr. Kelron adjusted his scanner. Because danger isn't always seen. Arton, quiet as ever, finally spoke. I've seen this place. In a dream. Rilla turned. What did you see? He didn't answer. He just grabbed his gear and walked to the bay. The team followed. They landed near a broken spire, tall and sharp, like a frozen scream. No animals, no sound, even the wind was still, but the soil beneath their feet was warm. Too warm, as if the planet was alive. They moved through the ruins, buildings made of dark crystal and bone-white stone, symbols covered the walls, pulsing faintly. Dr. Kelron scanned them. This script, it's older than the galaxy. Arton nodded. This world was once a library, a memory hub. Rilla raised an eyebrow. Then where are the people? A voice answered them. Gone, but not dead. They turned. A woman stood before them, dressed in strange robes, eyes pure silver, not human, not alien, something between. Rilla stepped forward, gun raised. Who are you? The woman smiled. A keeper, one of the last of what? The woman looked up. Of erased truths. Inside a nearby temple, the keeper told them the story. This world was once the core of the Great Union, a council of races who had touched the shadows but survived. They stored all memory here, every scan, every signal, every warning, until one day, the architects came. Rilla frowned. You mean the ones who send the shadows? Yes, the keeper said. They came not with weapons, but with silence. They erased this world, not by force, but by forgetting. The group fell quiet. Dr. Kelron stared at the ground. You mean they made others forget this place ever existed? The keeper nodded. Double quotes. And when no one remembers you, you vanish. Rilla's voice trembled. Then why are we here? Why do we remember? The keeper walked to the edge of the ruined city and pointed. A crater, smooth, black, glowing, faintly. At the center of this world is a signal. It broke through time. It reached your vessel. It made your minds different. They followed her to the crater. In the center stood a device not built, but grown. It looked like an ancient tree made of crystal and sound. Arton touched it gently. It responded. Visions filled their minds, the human scan firing into the void, the shadows waking, the architects turning their gaze. A secret buried deep in the vessel's memory. Then one clear image, a human face. Od, wise, afraid, sitting in a lab, watching the scan go out. Dr. Kelron gasped. That's Professor Ellen Veer. She died 80 years ago, Rilla said. No, Arton whispered. She disappeared. The keeper nodded. She was the one who built the scanner. She sent the signal. She knew something was watching. And she left a message hidden inside the vessel. Rilla's eyes widened. We need to find it. Back on Kale's flagship, things were falling apart. A third ship in the fleet had gone dark. No attack, just silence. The crew gone. Kale paced. In front of the control panel. What are we missing? His science officer looked up. Sir, I don't think we're being hunted anymore. Kale stopped. What do you mean? They've already found what they wanted. Kale's voice turned cold. Our thoughts. Inside the ruins, Arton placed his hand on the crystal tree. It glowed brighter. A voice, played female, human, old. You hear this? I failed. But the scan was never about the shadows. It was to test if we were ready. Ready to remember something. We chose to forget. Rilla whispered. What did we forget? The ground trembled, the wind returned, and from the sky fell pieces of light, each one shaped like a memory. They touched the crew and filled their minds. Suddenly, Rilla remembered a dream she had as a child, a machine, a voice in the stars, a warning in her blood. Kelron saw his brother who had died, in a lab accident, speaking to him from behind a glass wall. Artan fell to his knees, seeing a symbol he had drawn all his life, but never knew why. They had been marked, long before the scan. marked to remember, even if the universe tried to make them forget. The keeper stepped back, her silver eyes now dim. You have seen the truth, now you must choose. Choose what? Rilla asked. To carry the memory, or lose it forever. Kelron whispered, if we carry it, we become targets. Artan stood, but if we lose it, we become nothing. Suddenly the crater cracked from below. A voice rose. The architects had noticed them. We erase not out of hate. We erase because you are noise in the song. The sky turned black. The ruins shook. The shadows were coming, not ships, not monsters, just unmaking. Rilla shouted. We have to go. The keeper smiled. Go. Carry what you saw. Let your vessels sing louder than their silence. They escaped, just as the ruins crumbled, as the Vernac spear took off. The planet behind them collapsed into nothing. Not an explosion, just absence. No debris, no light. No memory. Only the crew now remembered it ever existed, and the vessel. There was one ship in Admiral Kale's broken fleet that no one dared approach. It was once the Vernac spear, a heavy cruiser that escaped the shadow attack like the others. But since the jump, it had gone dark. No signals, no crew contact, no lights, no movement. But strange things were happening around it. Drones sent to scan it never returned. Ships flying close reported static in their comms and whispers in their minds. The crew called it the ghost ship. Kale stood before the observation window of his flagship, staring at the dark cruiser. We have to know what's inside, he said at last. Kale selected a team of 4. Commander Ryla, expert in deep space salvage. Dr. Kelron, Lieutenant Drea, elite security. Artan, an old quiet technician who once studied human tech. They suited up, armed with scanning gear and mind barrier implants, protection against whatever mental pressure had been affecting the fleet. Kale stood at the hangar gate. Get in, scan, and get out. Don't split up. Don't touch anything unless necessary. Rilla nodded. Understood, sir. Their shuttle launched toward the silent cruiser. As they approached, lights on their shuttle flickered. The air turned cold. No one spoke. They docked inside the Vernac spear. The corridors were dark and silent, but the ship was clean. No damage. No bodies. It was as if the crew had simply vanished. Drea checked motion sensors, reading slight movement deep in the engine core. Could be environmental systems, Rilla said, or not. Artan whispered. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. Walls seemed to bend slightly when no one was looking. Time felt slower. Dr. Kelron tapped a metal panel and it rippled. Not standard alloy, he said. This metal is adapting. Rilla looked at him. Adapting to what? He didn't answer because suddenly a sound echoed through the ship. Breathing. They reached the engine room. The doors were open. Inside, the power core was lit softly, like a heartbeat. But it wasn't the original engine. This was something else. Something grown long, root-like structures wrapped around the old power systems. The walls were no longer metal, but a dark, smooth surface that shimmered when they stared too long. This isn't Varnock tech, Kelron said. It's not human either, Artan added. He stepped forward, and the engine opened. Inside the core chamber was a floating cocoon. Black, silent, alive. The sensors read no heat, no radiation, yet the room felt hot and cold at the same time. Kelron scanned it. No life signs, but it's growing. Rilla narrowed her eyes. Growing into what? Suddenly, the cocoon pulsed. A wave of energy pushed them back. Their lights went out. Their suits flickered, and then they saw it. Images flooded their minds. A star dying and turning inside out. A city in the sky, with towers made of light. A creature with no face, walking across space. The human ship, scanning the shadows. And something waking. Then, a voice. Not male, not female. Just there. You looked into the dark. Now the dark looks back. The team collapsed. They woke minutes later. The cocoon had split. Inside was a human. But not just human, its skin was dark metal, its eyes pure white. It floated. Without effort. Artan stepped forward. You're from the vessel, the being nodded. I was hidden here, planted, long ago. Waiting. For what? Rilla asked. For you to understand, it said. Back on Kale's ship. Alarms rang. The Vernac spear was powering up, but no one had activated it. Kale opened comms. Team report. The voice that replied was not Rilla's. It was the being's. Your enemy is not the shadows. They are only messengers. Kale's heart froze. Then what is the true threat? The ones who made the shadows. The architects of collapse. They erase civilizations from timelines, and you are next. Ryla stared at the being. You're trying to help us. It nodded. You scanned the shadows, but why? To remind them, to wake the others, to force a choice. Dr. Kelron asked, what choice? The being turned its glowing eyes on him. Merge, or perish. Suddenly, the walls of the ship began changing again. Panels shifted into ancient symbols. One showed the galaxies spiraling inward, another showed a countdown. Artin read the symbols. This isn't a time clock, then what is it? Ryla asked. It's a measure of thought, consciousness, ideas, and it's almost zero. Kelron stepped back. It's not counting down time, it's counting down us. Outside, Kale watched in horror as the Vernax spear detached from the fleet on its own. Stop it. Lock its engines, he ordered. Too late. The ship entered warp. Destination unknown, but Kale knew. It was heading toward the signal, toward the place before time, and the being was taking them there. The ship moved through space, but not like others. The Vernax spear didn't jump by engine power, it folded reality. Time bent around it, stars vanished, space turned inside out. Inside, Rilla and her team floated, confused, no lights, no sound, no controls, only the being standing silently in the center chamber, glowing softly. Dr. Kelron whispered, "Where are we?" The being turned. Before stars, before light, before thought. Suddenly, the view outside cleared, but there were no stars, no galaxies, no light at all, just blackness, but not empty. It felt full, heavy, alive. Artin stared out the window. This is the place from the signal. Rilla stepped closer. Why bring us here? The being raised a hand. The darkness outside shimmered, and then a memory played in the stars. They saw a world not human, not VARNAK. Tall silver beings walked under red skies. Peaceful, curious. They were the first, the being said, the first minds to understand time. The silver race looked to the stars, just like humans did. They built machines, they explored. And then they made the mistake. They scanned the dark between galaxies, and they found something. Rilla watched. As the silver race's ships entered deep space, their sensors picked up shadows. Strange movements. Echoes of thought. And then screams. The first ship returned empty, the second returned with only one survivor. He spoke no words, only repeated one sentence: it watches, it waits, it feeds on minds. Kelron stepped back. The shadows. The being nodded. Yes, but only servants. Suddenly, they saw the fall of the silver world. Buildings crumbled, the skies split, their machines turned against them, but it wasn't war. It was deletion. Reality shifted. History broke apart. Some timelines showed the race surviving, others showed them erased completely, as if they had never existed. Artin fell to his knees. They weren't killed, they were unwritten. Rilla gripped her head. This is what's coming for us. The being nodded. Unless you change, unless you evolve, Kelron asked. How? The being looked at him. You scanned the shadows. That means your minds are open, you can feel what others cannot. Rilla frowned. That's not a gift, it's a curse. Not if you listen, the being said. Back on Kale's ship, alarms blared again. A rift had opened deep in uncharted space. From it came a new signal, but this one wasn't from the humans or the shadows. It was older, darker. The Varnak sensors failed trying to decode it. Crew members fainted. Kale stood firm. We're under threat from something we can't see, can't touch, and can't fight. A captain beside him asked, then what do we do? Kale narrowed his eyes. We learn. On the Vernax spear, the team sat around the being as it began to change shape. It now looked like a mixture of all known species: human, Varnak, silver, Taka. You are all fragments, it said, but together you are the vessel. Kelron blinked. You mean the human ship? No, the being whispered. You are the vessel. The room shifted. Symbols formed in the air, thoughts made visible. Mathematics, music, pain, memory. The being explained, the architects do not fear weapons, they do not fear fleets, they fear ideas. Minds that resist deletion, that remember across time, that carry signals forward even when erased. Artin whispered. So that's the purpose of the human ship? Yes, the being said. It remembers. That is its weapon. In orbit around a dead planet, Kale's crew found ruins, a tower, with the same circle triangle symbol, inside. They found bones millions of years old, but etched into the wall was something shocking. We tried. They erased us. If you find this, teach yourselves to dream louder. Kale looked at the writing. It was in the Varnak language. Yet the ruins were far older than Varnak civilization. Kale whispered. Time is bleeding. Back on the ghost ship, Rilla stood up. Why show us this? Why now? The being answered. Because the shadows are only the start. The true enemy is waking, and it's already inside your minds. Suddenly, Dr. Kelron screamed. His body shifted just slightly. His voice turned hollow. They're here. The being didn't panic. It touched Kelron's forehead and he froze. A black mist poured from his mouth, screaming like wind. Then it vanished. Kelron fell, breathing heavy. I saw it, a face, 1,000 eyes, and it smiled. But being spoke one final time. You cannot win with ships. You must become more aware, more connected, more dangerous to forget. Rilla looked confused. What does that mean? That ships suddenly turned. Destination set. A world no one knew, except the humans. A world erased from all maps, but still remembered by the vessel. Space had never been so quiet. The Vanak spear floated slowly through dark regions of space. Behind it, the world that did not exist had been erased, forgotten by the universe itself. But the crew remembered, and now, something remembered them too. Commander Ryla sat in the command chair. She stared ahead, but something was wrong. Where are we? She asked softly. Anne looked over, confused. You set this course? Rilla shook her head. No, I didn't. Dr. Kelron leaned over the console. The nav system says this sector doesn't exist. There's no stardust, no radiation, just emptiness. Arten frowned. Or it's being hidden. They didn't know it yet, but they were already inside it. The silence field, a trap created by the architects, not with weapons, but with absence. It didn't destroy ships, it erased thoughts. First it started small. Rilla forgot where she had kept her sidearm. Kelron stared at his scanner for 10 minutes, not knowing how it worked. Arten looked at his own hand, and for a moment, didn't recognize it. Rilla ordered a retreat, but it was too late. The ship's memory core flickered. Logs deleted themselves. Video files turned blank, and then the crew started forgetting each other. Rilla ran into the medbay. She saw Kelron but didn't recognize him. He spoke her name, panicked. She pointed a weapon. Who are you? He stepped back. It's me, Kelron, Rilladant. You remember? She lowered the gun slowly. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I know that name, but I don't remember your face. On the bridge, Artan was staring into the void. Heard voices, but not real ones. Do you remember your first memory? What happens when that goes? Can a person still exist if no one recalls them? He clenched his fists. I will not forget. But then he forgot who he was speaking to. In a hidden chamber of the Vernac spear, a light began to glow. It was the core memory, gifted to them by the Keeper. It activated itself. It sent pulses into the walls. The ship reacted. Old systems turned on once. The crew never noticed. The ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a witness, a guardian of memory. That it began restoring names, thoughts, and fragments. But only if someone would speak them out loud. Rilla stumbled into the central chamber. She saw a screen blinking her name, Rilla Vaughn. A voice spoke from it. Mechanical.com/say your name. She hesitated. Rilla Vaughn. The voice responded. Do you remember the vessel? She shook her head. I don't know what that means. Then remember others. Speak their names. She closed her eyes. And whispered Kelron. The screen glowed brighter. Suddenly Kelron's voice echoed through the room. Rilla, I remember now. She smiled weakly. Me too. The ship was helping them fight. Not with weapons, but with names. Artan was next. He activated his console. It asked, what was your first memory? He whispered. A red star. A falling shape. My father's voice. The ship accepted it. Identity restored. The silence cracked. Tiny sparks of light returned to the windows. And then the architects spoke. You resist. You remember. This breaks the order. Their voice came from no direction. It just was. You were meant to be forgotten. But your vessel cheats time. Rilla stood up. You call it cheating. We call it surviving. You carry memories not meant for you. You saw what no one should. Arten shouted. Then erase us. Try, but we'll speak our way back. Silence, then pressure. Like something pressing down on their brains. Painful, cold. In the corner of the ship, a small screen blinked. Message from unknown source. Remember together or forget alone. Rilla saw it, and suddenly, she understood. Everyone to the bridge, she ordered. They all met at the center of the ship. She pointed to the core. Say everything, out loud, together. What? Kelron asked. Everything you remember. Every moment, names, dreams, places. We flood the silence. Arten nodded. A memory storm. They began. Rilla, my mother's song. The sea near Doran Base. The first time I touched a star map. Kelron, the smell of copper in the lab. My brother's laugh. The code we made as kids. Artan, my home's broken roof. The dream of a tree made of fire. The first image I drew 3 stars and a circle. As they spoke, the ship amplified their words. Their memories became light. The silence cracked further. The architects screamed not with hate, but with confusion. Speak too loud, you burn into the void, you become resistant. And then, the pressure vanished. Outside the ship, the stars returned. Inside, all systems reactivated. The field was gone. They had survived the forgetting. Rilla sat down, breathing hard. Kelron smiled. We didn't fight back with weapons, no, she said. We fought with who we are. A final message blinked on the screen. Not from the architects, from someone else. If you can still speak your name, you haven't lost the war. The Vernac spear hovered in the quiet. After escaping the silence field, the crew no longer felt like explorers. They were keepers, not of secrets, but of truth. They had remembered what the architects tried to erase, and now the architects were coming, not in silence, but in form, on the edge of the Varlan system. Lights appeared, not ships, not stars, shapes without shape, presence without matter. They shimmered like ideas, not machines. Artan stared at the view screen. They've come. Rilla took a deep breath. Ready weapons. Kelran shook his head. No, this isn't a battle. She turned to him. Then what is it? Kelran answered softly. A choice. A voice entered the ship. Don't know sound. No language. Just understanding. Remember too much. Now you must carry what comes next. The crew stood together as the ship's systems shifted. The Vernac spear began to change. Its walls reshaped. Lights moved like flowing rivers. Screens blinked with memories from Earth, from the past, from forgotten timelines. It wasn't a ship anymore. It was a living archive built by someone long ago, by humans. From a future that had been erased. A video played on the main screen. A woman, human, old, wise, eyes full of regret. Professor Ellen Via, her last message. If you're hearing this, the scan worked. You found them, but now they've found you. The architects are not gods, they're curators. They manage reality by cutting away parts that grow wild. We humans were once too wild. We expanded too fast, thought too deeply, and so they unmade us. But I left a seed, this vessel, a memory they couldn't delete. Now, the choice is yours. Become part of their order, or bring back what we were. The message ended. Silence. Then, the architects appeared not as enemies, but as visitors. You were not meant to survive, you were meant to be forgotten, yet here you stand. Remembering. Rilla stepped forward. We will not forget, not again. The architects paused. Then choose. Accept the order. Forget the storm, or carry the flame, face what comes. Artan looked at Rilla. Kelran closed his eyes, and Rilla spoke. We choose the flame. The ship shook not from attack, but awakening. The Vernac spear activated a hidden Cora-folded mind. Thousands of human voices, scientists, artists, soldiers, poets spoke from inside. Memories of Earth. Memories of before the deletion. And a blueprint. The ship was more than a ship. It was a seed vault of human potential created by the last free minds sent into deep time, waiting for someone brave enough to remember. The architects spoke again. So be it. You carry danger but also beauty. You are no longer scanned. You are seen. And then, they vanished. No fight. No fire. No fire. Just understanding. They had tested the humans, and the humans had passed later. Kale's fleet received the final transmission from the Vernac spear. It wasn't a warning. It was a signal burst. A scan not of space, but of hope. A reminder that even if something is forgotten by the stars, it can still burn in one mind. On the edge of the galaxy, the Vernac spear changed course. No longer running, no longer hiding, no longer hiding. It headed into the unknown zone. Not to survive, but to plant memory. Epilogue. One scan back on Earth. Years later, young girl opened an old terminal. No internet, no connection, but a single file appeared. Memory Core, Project V. She opened it and saw a name, Rilla Vaughn, first flamebearer.